Okay, folks. I was actually going to put up a reaction to the Sonic the Hedgehog live action movie trailer, but Random has informed me that YouTube is actually handing out copyright strikes to people even reacting to this movie, and I've had history with copyright strikes before on my channel back in the day whenever I would put up a preview to a WWE pay-per-view around 2008, 2009, where I was using preview stills of matches that were coming up for the pay-per-view, and WWE had it taken down. And I get why they do it. I mean, it's business. I'm not gonna really get too much into the pros and cons of that. Some companies are a lot more lenient than others. I know Sega, in particular, kind of welcome the reactions because they actually help and embrace the fans, which is something that a lot of other companies should do, but don't. But I'm not going to get into the naming and shaming of that because that's really petty, and I probably did do stuff like that in the past. And if I have, my bad. But the whole naming and shaming things, like, I don't do that these days. It gets people nowhere. Now, most people know I have been very cautiously optimistic about the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Even as far back as December last year, when me and the rest of the Sunday Night Live crew were giving our thoughts on the silhouette of the teaser trailer for Sonic was released, and concerns were present even then. And I simply said back then, let's just wait until we see the full reveal, because all we had at the time was the silhouette of a hedgehog, and I do not know if he does the fandango, which I had to explain I was referencing Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody at the time. The trailer, it has a lot of concerns. Now, first and foremost, I like Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. It's probably one of the best R&B rap songs of the 90s, and it was one of Coolio's greater numbers. But I feel in the context of a Sonic movie, it feels so out of place. If it had been The Offspring's All I Want, or even Jump by Van Halen, that would have made a lot more sense. I appreciate that, for nostalgic purposes, Gangsta's Paradise was in the 90s, but I think that was about 4 or 5 years after the first appearance of Sonic in the Western world, because most people who know their Sonic lore, Sonic's birthday anniversary in the Western world is June 23, 1991. And to see, or in this case here, a use of Gangsta's Paradise for a Sonic trailer, it's different, but I just feel like it's so out of place. Jim Carrey is having a blast with this movie. You can tell he is going in full ham with this, akin to when Mark Hamill used to put his back into his voiceovers for the Joker, because if you listen to the Joker now, with Hamill voicing him compared to when he first did this with Batman the Animated Series, he is going in full ham, he's putting his back into it, in the same context of Kevin Conroy actually giving emotion back in the day, but these days he's just living up to the moniker of phone-in Conroy. And I am starting to side with the rest of the Sonic fans. The design could be better. I don't hate it, but I recognize there are a lot of problems with this design. The eyes, I get that they're trying to go for a more realistic approach, and I think considering that they're trying to treat the story as a realistic tone, I think if you had put Sonic in as we know him, particularly from such designs as Sonic Adventure, Sonic 3, or even Sonic Heroes, from a physics standpoint, that is not going to work in live action. If it was being done as a comedy like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, then because it would have a comedic tone, people could get on board with it. But to try and take cartoony physics into a tone where there is a sense of realism, it's not going to work. The voice actor for Sonic, I don't have a problem with him because he's just being paid to do as he's told. If you happen to have a problem with the delivery of his lines, that's down to the voice director, because a voice actor is only as good as the person that's directing him. Now, had this been Andrea Romano in her prime and still voice directing, then this would have been a lot better. Now, some people can make the argument of a voice actor is either good or bad. If you compare Drake Bell from Ultimate Spider-Man to his delivery in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the guy is actually trying. He's actually being given decent direction to work with. And it's the same argument that I make with people who say, well, Val Kilmer sounded so robotic as the Kit Stang in Knight Rider SG. Again, it's probably just the vocal direction that he was given. If they tell him to go a specific way, he has to go a specific way, otherwise he doesn't get paid. And they'll just end up recasting him. So, with regards to the voice actor, I don't have a problem with him. I think he's fine. He's a good Sonic. There are some jokes where I believe are not appropriate, especially in this day and age. And that's at the end of the trailer with the scene in the lobby in the elevator and Sonic's in the bag. Had that been he has a boombox where it happens to be playing recordings from something, or it's a boombox that's playing at the end of the song, or if he's got somebody on a speakerphone, if it was just like a bunch of his stuff and he'd left his phone in there, that could have fixed that entire scene. But due to the inappropriate nature of the joke, most people that I've seen react to this are just cringing to the 8th degree, and I don't blame them. The ending shot with Jim Carrey gone to his full transformation as classic Robotnik with the bald head and the over-exaggerated Teddy Roosevelt mustache on steroids. The mustache, not Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey on steroids. We don't really need to see Jim-a-mania or Carrey-mania running wild. And I think Owen's going to be running the back and be like, oh no, I have the mental images. Imagine like Jim Carrey going, well, let me tell you something, Jim-maniacs. Jim-a-mania is going to run wild like it's never run wild before. Just imagine Jim Carrey flexing and posing to Hulk Hogan's Real American. Whoever's listening, I want fan art of that. I don't know why, but that's just like the very image of Ace Ventura going, alrighty, Jim-a-maniacs. Jim-a-mania, I love it. But yeah, in summary, the trailer has a ton and ton of problems that it needs to fix. And I think there's a guy on Twitter who, within, I think, a day, made some modifications via Photoshop, and the Sonic design actually looks a lot better. So, I think it's Edward Plum1. Someone give me a link to just in the comment section below of the particular Twitter link in question, and then I'll be able to correct myself for future reference. But I took a look at the design, and it had the realism, but it was much more faithful to Sonic's iconic look that we're more familiar with. Long story short, there are some promising aspects of the trailer. The animation with the speed works fine, but I'm starting to side with a lot of other people. The design needs a heck of a lot of work. And again, Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise is a good song, but I think it would have made much more sense if they had just used The Offspring's All I Want or Van Halen's Jump. Now you can make the argument of why would an 80s song be more fitting to Sonic the Hedgehog? Just listen to the lyrics. Jump. Just go ahead, jump. And Sonic does a lot of that. But yeah, I don't know what to make of this. there are a ton of problems that this movie needs to work on. Yeah, those are my thoughts.